ģiefþ. So today I would like to explain how nouns change according to the cases I laid out in the previous video. Now, in Old English, as with many languages that have case systems, the nouns change based on what class they belong to. There's not one universal way of changing every noun through the different cases. Instead, the different classes offer different endings and different strategies to changing the nouns into the respective cases. Now, these classes, in the case of Old English, are dictated by two main things, really. And those are the nouns gender and the noun stem. Now, grammatical gender is a feature of Old English, as it is a feature of many languages, both ancient and modern. And like I said, I won't touch on this concept just yet. I will explain grammatical gender in a separate video like I did in grammatical case and how it relates to Old English, because I understand that people watching this video, a large portion of them may be English native speakers, therefore coming from a language that does not have this feature, grammatical gender, even though Old English used to have it, modern English lost this feature. So you will get to see how English used to have a case like, used to have a feature like this system of grammatical gender. Though I do want to clarify right now that the name grammatical gender is pretty misleading because it does lead to people thinking that these nouns are gendered, as in like they are actually assigned genders, as in the speakers of the language think of these nouns as being that gender, but that's not really the case. It's the word gender here really is just like genre. It's more akin to the word genre. In fact, gender and genre are related words coming from the same Latin root. And it does not mean that uh, even in a modern language today, like Portuguese, where a word like table is feminine, it does not mean that Portuguese speakers think of tables as something that's feminine. It's just a category. It's just a category of the noun. So really, the word gender here can be any other word, and it would make just as much sense as to say grammatical color, grammatical type, grammatical bookmark, grammatical folder. Now, I will take these lessons in bits, and I will not show you all the classes right away, of course, because that would be very overwhelming, I should say. But instead, I will take it from gender to gender and then stem to stem. Now, the noun stem relates to the specific ending that the word has that then influences the way that it changes. Now, the tricky thing is that these stems are not necessarily referring to the stem in the Old English word. The stem of the word is actually something determined by the word in a previous stage of the language. So Old English, as with any language, it descends from an earlier stage, just like English descends from just like how modern English descends from Old English itself descends from a previous language. That language is a language that we can reconstruct, and we call that reconstructed language Proto-Germanic. Now, the word Germanic here doesn't mean that it's like German. Germanic here means Germanic tribes, which refer to the ancient tribes in the region that the Romans call Germania, or like Germany, but not modern day Germany, more like, ancient region called Germany, but it was kind of spread out across, northern Europe. So, it was across like Belgium or the Netherlands or uh, the Scandinavian countries or the Scandinavian Peninsula, and also the eventually the British Isles, where the Anglo-Saxons settled, which is the people that spoke Old English. Now, Proto-Germanic, then, though of course German is a Germanic language as well, and it's therefore a sister language to English. They are both considered West Germanic, as they were from the western part of Europe, as it were. You know, the Germanic tribes were settled there. Now, Proto-Germanic is the language that they would have spoken. Of course, they would not have called it Proto-Germanic. The proto here is just from the Greek protos, which is like first, so like the first stage of Germanic. Um, and Proto-Germanic is itself, of course, descended from the reconstructed, the hypothetical language, but hypothetical, but doesn't mean that we're not certain of it. We're very, very certain of its existence. The language called Proto-Indo-European, or PIE for short, or PI, if you want to call it PI, that is the ancestor language to all the languages that have European ancestry, and also those in the Indian subcontinent. That's why Proto-Indo-European. Now, of course, not every language in Europe is Indo-European, but those that have that European ancestry, like Indo-European ancestry, those are uh, descended from Proto-Indo-European. So languages like English and German, but also Latin and Italian, Portuguese, but also Russian and Polish, but also Hindi and Urdu and Persian and Irish and Welsh and Norwegian and Icelandic and Armenian and Albanian and Greek, all Indo-European languages. Now, Proto-Germanic would be the ancestor of Old English, uh, and also the ancestor of all Germanic languages. And it had its own system of cases and grammatical gender and noun endings, the stems. The stem classification in Old English is based on the stems present in Proto-Germanic. So you will see a stem be called a certain way, and that may not reflect the way that the noun ends in Old English. But that's because it's not basing the ending in the Old English word, it's basing it on the earlier stage where it had that ending, but then it lost it. But then the effect of that ending still remains on the way that the noun changes. Okay, so in this lesson, I will focus on teaching how to change nouns in the masculine A-stem class. There are other nouns of other genders in the A-stem class. There are neuter nouns. That's one of the genders of Old English. Old English has three genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. But for now, we're only going to focus on the masculine gendered ones, and only the ones that are the A-stem ones. Now, what does this a stem mean? Well, it means that these words back in the Proto-Germanic days, so before Old English, these words used to end in an ending with as, like az, as. And you can see that there is that a there. That's why they're called a stem, because there used to be that a, that used to be the ending that would be modified according to each case. And that is then reflected in Old English. Now, here is a table of how to change masculine a stem nouns in Old English. And so all you need to do is apply these endings to the word. And you simply apply them to the base form. So you would have the nominative form, that's the base form, and then you just attach each ending to that nominative form, and you would change it to the appropriate case. So let's pick a very quintessential word from the masculine a stem horde, as it were. So let's pick the word hund. I will have a separate video regarding the pronunciation of the letters in Old English. So don't fret if you don't understand how to pronounce this word. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, it's pronounced hund. So that U there you see, it's not a U, it's not hund, or it's not like the U in hundred, it's not hunt, even though it looks like hunt in hundred. It is in fact hund. So that U there is a U sound, like in fool or pool or spoon. So so hund. And that is the ancestor of the modern English word hound, but in fact it means dog. Just means any kind of dog. Doesn't mean a hound, it means a dog. We lost this word in this sense. We replaced it with dog, of course, but this is how you'd say dog in Old English, hund. So you would take those endings that we saw previously and you would attach them to this word. So the nominative form would just be the base form here, hund. The accusative would not change. I know I said that in the previous video, every case kind of marks um, the noun in a way that makes it clear what case it is. Well, that was not a lie, but that was like not the whole picture. The accusative in Old English is not always marked differently, depending on the word. There are some words where it is marked differently. There's a difference that you can mark, but in this case, it is not. So you are still gonna get it from other words that may change along with it, like adjectives or the article. Like if you say the dog, then it's gonna be a different the for the dog if it's the subject or if it's the object. So you're still gonna get it, or just context. So don't fret about it. So hund and then accusative hund, same way. Now the genitive would be hundes, and that's how it would work in modern English as well. Of course, it would be different because you have apostrophe s, but that's pretty much how it is in modern English as well. Just stick this like s ending. In this case, you put es here, so hundes. But that's like in English when you would say hounds. So the hound's name that would be the same in Old English. So you have hund, like hound, but then the hound's name is Hundes nama. Hundes nama. So hound's name. Hundes nama. See here, it's extremely, extremely similar. And the dative would be hunde. You have the a there at the end. Which yeah, it's not pronounced like an You don't ignore it like you would ignore it in modern English. You pronounce it clearly, hunde, hunde. And this is the dative, so this is to the dog. you can see, you'll be clear that it's saying to the dog. You don't gotta use the preposition here. Hunde. Now for the plural, and yes, Old English has, like modern English, singular and plural number of nouns. So the case is not only vary in actual case, but also vary in the number. So if you're talking about uh, one dog or many dogs, that the case are going to be different. So that it is clear that you're also not only talking about to the dog, but to the dogs, for instance. Otherwise, it would be even more ambiguous and hard to distinguish. So in this case, as with the singular, the nominative and accusative are the same here, and it's hundas. So for both, it's hundas. And you can see here that this is a remnant of that a from the Proto-Germanic, because you have this a here that comes back. Now, interestingly, in Proto-Germanic, that a was not present in the accusative plural. That a was not present. It was not put there. But in Old English, you can see that this s is put here, like analogizing. It's like to match with the nominative. So you can see here that now they look the same. They didn't used to look the same. Now they look the same. They have these hundas. But you can see here that in the plural, it makes it clear that this is like an a stem now, because there's this a here that comes back in this one form to make it clear. So you have hundas, and then you have the a once again appearing in the genitive plural, hundas. That's like saying the hounds, multiple hounds. So the hounds' names, now it's different. Now it's Hunda Nama, the hounds' names, the multiple names of multiple hounds, or multiple dogs, I should say. I'm using the word hound here, but it should be dog. This is dog. And then you have hundum, which is to the dogs, dative plural, hundum. And that's about it. I can include some example sentences in the description, so you can see very clearly how this would look in an Old English sentence. And next time, I will present to you the some other cases of masculine a stem noun, some special cases. And afterwards, we shall talk about the neuter a stem nouns, which is uh, a different class, different case. So, but until then, I'll wish you well.